Neil.
Spring 1962. The outline of the new Spencer Steelworks near Newport, Monmouthshire is almost complete. From end to end of the 3.5-mile site, construction now moves into its final stages. In many instances, it's necessary that some of the heavier items of plant and equipment are installed while the buildings to house them are still being constructed. One such building is the steel plant. Here, work on the structure and the delivery and erection of the LD vessels and their equipment proceeds to a coordinated schedule. The coke ovens byproducts plant is quickly taking shape, and most of the major items of equipment have arrived. It was only a few months earlier that the top of Waltwood Hill had looked like this, as work was in progress on building the reservoir for the works. Now the job is almost finished, and in fact one section has already been completed and filled ready for use. At the coke ovens site, the construction program has reached the point where batteries 3 and 4 are well underway, and numbers 1 and 2 at the far end are almost finished. Another couple of months will see this first battery going into commission, and in readiness for this, the rams for discharging the ovens have already been erected, their machinery installed and put under test. Gas from the coke ovens is supplied in great quantities to the soaking pits and other parts of the works, and the huge piping for this goes into position. At the sinter plant, where iron ore will be fused with coke and turned into a material more suitable for modern blast furnaces, structural work and installation have both reached an advanced stage. The first of the 3 LD vessels is now in place in the steel plant, but before it can start converting iron into steel, there's a lot of work for fitters, grinders and welders yet to be done, both on the vessel itself and on the equipment that goes with it. Like everything else in this up-to-date works, each of the 3 vessels has the fullest instrumentation and control system, centered in a nearby cubicle. Control circuits are also among the many items to be installed and checked on the 6-stand mill. In time to come, this group of machines will be controlled by a computer for the first time ever outside the USA. There's a long job of fitting and testing here before the plant can be commissioned and before the computer can be programmed to take over control. Now this great new British steelworks takes a major step forward towards full production with the commissioning of the first batteries of coke ovens. At a special ceremony, Mrs. Campbell Adamson, wife of the works general manager, lit the first of the 70 ovens completed. She's followed by Mrs. Raymond Raby, wife of the coke ovens manager. The importance of the occasion attracted a crowd of press and television cameramen to record for publication this red-letter day in the history of Spencer Works. And so, little more than 2 years after construction began, commissioning has started. Up at the reservoir, everything is now ready for the start of production. 100 million gallons of water waiting to meet an initial daily demand of well over 14 millions. And back at the works, the ore tippler comes into operation, handling trainloads of ore. The whole procedure is automatic, beginning by hauling each wagon to the top of the slope at mechanically preset intervals. The next operation clamps the wheels in a transfer mechanism, and the wagon is then moved on to the actual tippler. Every stage of the job is electronically controlled, and the very minimum of supervision is needed. The ore that is tipped from the wagons passes through a crusher and then is taken by conveyor belts to the ore stockyards. One is reserved for foreign ores and another for home ores. And stocks are built up here in readiness for production. At the coke ovens, the fire brick linings are slowly warmed up over several weeks before they're charged with coal, and an operational routine begins with regular inspection and supervision. Beyond the line of the coke ovens, a quenching tower stands, ready to handle the output of coke needed to feed the work's 2 blast furnaces. Waiting too are the great coke cars serving this plant. And while the coke plant has reached the point where production is almost beginning, the finishing touches are being given to the sinter plant. Here, twin coolers are ready for a final coat of paint, while the last stages of erection still go on nearby. All that now remains is for the insulation and painting to be completed on these hoppers, and the plant will be finished, ready to enter into full production. In another part of the sinter plant, the precipitators are in use, and close by stand the hoppers containing the various grades of ore needed to make the sinter. As the target date for full production approaches, the coke ovens start to play their part. Coking has started. A coke push takes place here at short intervals throughout the 24 hours of every day. From the battery of ovens, it's only a short run to the quenching tower, which is one of the places where water is needed in abundance. In the big reservoir overlooking the works, there's now plenty of water, not only for coke quenching, but for cooling the blast furnaces and the mill rolls, and for many other purposes. The gas main from the coke ovens gets its final coat of paint. Of the 2 blast furnaces, number 1 is almost completed and is the first ready for starting up. Preparations for this include warming up the 3 blast stoves and also checking over the electronic control panels for the automatic charging gear. June the 1st, 1962. And number 1 blast furnace is about to go into service. Mr. H.F. Spencer, the managing director of Richard Thomas and Baldwin's Limited, performed the lighting up ceremony. In a short speech, he told the gathering of RTB executives and contractors' representatives that Spencer Works is as up-to-date a plant as any of its kind in the whole world, and that while all the plant is modern, the majority of it is the most modern in the world. He went on to say that he hoped that it would not only bring more prosperity and importance to Monmouthshire, but that it would also enhance the economy and security of the country. He concluded his remarks by wishing all who tend the blast furnace good luck and prolific tappings. Lighting the blast furnace was another important step forward to the day when Spencer Works would start integrated steel production. But meanwhile, other parts of the plant are also being brought to a finished state. Among these is the motor room for the universal slabbing mill, where the motors are almost ready to make test runs. It's from here that the big rolls of the slabbing mill are driven by 6 motors, which together give a total of more than 16,000 horsepower. Two pairs of motors drive the upper and lower horizontal rolls, and 1 pair the vertical rolls that are a special feature of the mill. And of course, the mill machinery is served by the most modern instrumentation. And now, back at number 1 blast furnace, they're just about to start casting. That is, tapping off the iron. Casting takes place once every 4 hours, and each of the 2 blast furnaces at Spencer Works will eventually produce 2,000 tons of iron every day. The stream of molten iron is run off into ladles positioned below the openings in the cast house floor. To see that the iron is up to specification, samples are taken from each cast as the stream flows on to feed the steel-making plant. July 1962, and an ingot of steel starts its journey through the slabbing mill. The slabbing mill is at the beginning of the hot strip mill, which altogether is 1,800 feet long, one of the longest in the world. The universal slabbing mill is used for the first stage in the process of turning ingots into steel strip. It has a capacity for handling ingots up to 30 tons in weight. For the first few passes, the ingot is rolled on edge between the horizontal rolls, which are adjusted at each pass. The whole operation is controlled from what is called the pulpit, which stands across the line of the mill. In here is one man who manipulates steel ingots through the powerful mill as easily as if he were driving a car. After the first few passes, the ingot is turned on its side, and from now on the vertical rolls control the width, while the horizontal rolls progressively reduce the ingot in thickness, increasing its length till eventually it becomes a slab up to 30 feet long. This slab, produced in Britain's most up-to-date mill, is the forerunner of the countless number that will pass through it in the months and years to come. Spencer Works, a giant in modern steelmaking, has begun